Welcome to Real Talk Fantasy Baseball. I am your host, Will Power, joined by Javi the Commish and Kevmo. We haven't seen him in a long time, man. How you been?
Hey, I've been great. Thanks for having me back on. I love being on. Let's do it.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you jumping in for John. John's not able to make it today. He has a previous commitment. But let's get right to it. Today's lineup, we got Max Scherzer and Gerrit Cole made their 2024 debuts. We will break down their starts. Is James Paxton a must-add? Matt Waldron is up to 61% rostered in Yahoo leagues. Who called it? This guy called it. And could this be a potential sell high, or are we holding on Waldron? Giancarlo Stanton out for 4 weeks with a strained left hamstring. We have some replacement options for you guys. And finally, after 3 months of baseball, Cedric Mullins is finally getting hot. Stay tuned. So I was asking Javi before the show started about that new intro that I made. What do you think, Kev?
I like it. I think it's cool. It's got, it's not too long. It's short, like right to the point. Get you a little hyped, and bam, here we are.
Let's go. I'm digging the music. You know, I'm a metalhead. So
no, I like it too. Hype you up.
All right, so Gerrit Cole made his long-awaited 2024 debut versus the Baltimore Orioles, going 4 innings, allowing 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, and 5 strikeouts on 62 pitches. Although one of those runs allowed came in the 5th inning after Cole was taken out of the game and after allowing a leadoff hit to Cedric Mullins. Next batter comes up, 2-run home run, which gave Gerrit Cole that second earned run. I don't know. What do you guys think? If Aaron Boone allowed Cole to stay in the game, do you think he would have been able to hold the Orioles to 1 run? Potentially could have gotten the win if the Yankees scored, in the next inning? Or do you think that maybe this kind of makes sense since it was his first start back to limit his pitch total to 62, which is what happened?
Yeah, I mean, I think with Cole, anything could have happened. I think like you definitely could have left him in, probably could have got out of it. But also, if he ends up blowing up even more, I mean, I know it's Gerrit Cole. It's not his confidence you're really too worried about, but it's just the perception of all of a sudden, oh man, Gerrit Cole, is he broken type of thing. He's not ready to be back, all that stuff, which, we can get more into this second start and we, go into that too. But I think in the moment, I think just playing it safe. Part of it, I think, is not necessarily for the confidence of Cole, like I was saying, but maybe more even just for like the team and for the fan base. I mean, he'll get some crap for taking him out and, oh man, you could have left him in. But if he leaves him in and then all of a sudden he gets blown up even more, then they're really like, Boone, what are you doing? It's his first game back. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think there's going to be like haters on both sides,
Absolutely.
All right, Javi, what do you think? If you were in Aaron Boone's shoes, do you think he made the right call? Would you have taken Gerrit Cole out, or would you have left him in to try to at least finish the 5th inning?
Well, I'm kind of on the other side of that. I do think that with him and his age, you coming back from an injury like that, you kind of have to be cautious. Luckily the Yankees pitching rotation has been pretty good, which a lot of people didn't see. Luis Gil doing what he's doing. Cortez is, he's holding his own. So to me, they played it safe, which is cool. Second game, I know we haven't gotten into that, but that was like an eye opener for me. The good thing is it's still kind of early in the season to where they can kind of work out those kinks with him and stuff like that. And like I said, the rotation's been pretty good. So if they need to if they need to hold them to like 5 innings pitch, a pitch count, so to speak, then I think it in the long run it'll work out for them because they're gonna need him in the postseason.
Right.
If they need to make a run.
That's what I think the main point is. The Yankees are not playing for right now at the end of June. You know, they're playing for the postseason. So I think, you know, Boone's like, I don't care what these people say or what they think. Like, I can't let this guy have a huge setback. And then, you know, and then especially I think Luis Gil already had one of his 2 bad starts at that point. I mean, he's like, man, if all of a sudden he goes back and then he'll, you know, we're already thinking of this, like we gotta keep it. You also got to remember, like, this is basically Gerrit Cole's spring training.
That's what Aaron Judge said, man. Like, Aaron
Yeah.
Judge was asked about it, and he said this is basically Gerrit Cole's spring training. Like, he only had like 2 starts in the minors before he made his debut. So
spring training and coming off an injury. So
yeah, and you know, in addition to all that, I mean, I'm sure he's working on some stuff. You know, he wasn't 100%. He's not ready to go out there and pitch 6 innings yet. I'm surprised he actually got through 4 with the amount of the amount of time that he had to prepare for this start. You know.
Yeah. Now with the Mets being hot, I know we're, you know, second start real quick. It's just the Mets have been hot, but I mean, that second start, 6 earned runs, 4 innings pitched, 7 hits, 4 walks, 4 home runs. The velo went down like crazy, like big drop, and it was like he started off good and then it dropped. And Gerrit Cole made it sound like it wasn't a big deal, but I mean, if that doesn't raise a red flag, I don't know what
heard
does,
about that.
because it, like, if he just started the game like that, then maybe, and then he was like, oh, that was part of the plan, then you're like, but it was like first inning and then the drop off. I mean, you can say what you want, but that, you know, I don't like that.
I could understand if there was maybe like a 3-mile-an-hour drop, but his fastest pitch that day was 98.9 miles an hour.
Right.
And then the same fastball dropped down to 91.5 miles an hour.
Right. And then he averaged, I think, around 95. But yeah, that's a huge drop for even just 1 or 2 pitches, you know?
Yeah. I mean, to take a little bit off, you know, that's fine if you're trying to like go for longevity in a start. But if you're getting banged around, I mean, come on, dude. It's time to step it up a little bit and get back up to, you know, 96, 97. I'm not asking him to throw 99 miles an hour on every single pitch. He's not no spring chicken no more, you know?
Right.
Only guys like Paul Skeens and the guy that just had Tommy John surgery, Spencer Strider, were doing that, you know? And that's fine because they're still in their 20s. You know, but when you got Gerrit Cole that's on the wrong side of 30, it's like, yeah, maybe you should be taking off a little bit, but not down to 91 miles an hour. You know, like how many whiffs are you going to be able to get on 91 miles an hour? I'll actually tell you how many whiffs he got. 1. He got 1 swing and miss on the 4-seam fastball. He got 2 on the cutter, 1 on the changeup, and 1 on the knuckle curve, none on the slider. He threw 72 pitches total and only got 5 total swings and misses. And that's not Gerrit Cole, man. Gerrit Cole that we've seen before is like 300 strikeouts in 200 innings.
Yeah.
You know, that's the Gerrit Cole that you drafted as the number 1 pitcher overall, you know, or number 2, you know, depending on if Strider went first. But yeah, man, that was crazy to me. I don't know. If I'm a Gerrit Cole owner, I'm worried. I'm thinking like, yeah, I mean, I could possibly give him the benefit of the doubt and say that, you know, he's just trying to work through some things, but that's a pretty dramatic drop in velocity. You know, that's a little too much for me. And to throw 70 something pitches in his second start, like, that's great, but to only get 5 swings and misses, I don't like that, man.
Quality
geez.
versus
I'm
quantity.
glad I don't own Gerrit Cole. That's what I'm gonna say right now.
Yeah. That's a plus.
All right, guys. Well, let's see. Kind of moving on. Go through some of my notes, which we already covered. All right, so let's move on to Max Scherzer. Made his 2024 debut versus the Royals. 5 innings pitched, 1 hit allowed, 0 walks, 4 strikeouts on 57 pitches. Very efficient start from the former Cy Young winner. Ended up getting the win, but let's see how he got there. So 7 swings and misses out of his 57 pitches. That's a lot better. That's what I expected from Gerrit Cole. You know, He got 3 on the fastball, 3 on the slider, 1 on the curveball. His max exit velocity was 102.4 miles an hour on the changeup, which resulted in the only hit Scherzer gave up to MJ Melendez, who's been hot lately. But other than that, Mad Max induced a lot of soft contact. He looked amazing in this start. And as long as Scherzer can stay healthy, I don't see any reason to doubt his ace-like numbers going forward. Javi, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I agree. I think they also took an easy approach on him, going 5 innings. They're kind of working him in there, being as he's had a long history of injuries. Um, but he was doing Max Scherzer things, man, and he looks great. Um, I think they'll still keep him within that 5 inning, 6 inning threshold for now, just to loosen him up a little bit. But this is a plus for a struggling Rangers rotation.
Yeah.
Um, like heading into, the more important games. If he can stay like this, this is gonna be a big help for the Rangers, who are so like mediocre, so to speak. Being a World Series, being in a World Series hangover type of thing.
Yeah.
If they start getting all their pieces back together, they might get back to where they were last year. So, I like what I saw from Scherzer, and yeah, I it's great. It's great for the Rangers, man.
And tomorrow he's going to make his next start. So hopefully he can, hold the opposition again. All right, Kevin, what do you think about Max Scherzer's first start?
I basically totally agree with what Avi and you were saying. I think that the Rangers, the Texas Rangers, they know what they're going for. They were just there last season at the World Series. They are going to try to work their way back there. This guy is like Javi said, he's got lots of injuries. He's old. They're going to work him slow. I think it's going to be hard to pull him off the mound when he's if he's going good, because that's how Mad Max is. But with the whole Mad Max thing going, with that being said, I guess at the end of last game, he was saying he had like fatigue in his forearm and his thumb had more pain. And then I think yesterday or something, they said that his thumb feels really sore, and that was one of like the big injuries, going in for him. And then one of the main quotes that I saw that he said that was like, I was like, I don't. This is the one thing I don't like, is that he said, I just don't know how I'm going to recover from this. And that's just like not a Max Scherzer type of quote,
Quote.
No.
Max
Usually
Scherzer's
he's like,
get away
I'm
from
the
me.
best. Give me the freaking ball, and I'm gonna
don't even
win
come
this
out of
game
the
for us.
bullpen. Yeah, exactly. Like stay in the bullpen or stay in the dugout. I'm finishing this game. And him saying that is like, he's human. And is he feeling that he's human? I think so. So, but you know what? That might actually be good for him, because if he's starting to feel a little discomfort, he might say, hey, let me ramp back a little bit, take me out. I want to be there at the end of the season. So
he's probably getting a little more smart towards the end of his career, rather than, the reckless Max Scherzer that we saw 5 years ago.
Just let talent take over. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is good. I think if you're a Max Scherzer owner, it's scary to hear that, but it's probably like, okay, well, that's better than all of a sudden after his next start, it's up, back on the IL. I pushed it too hard, So
yeah, that's exactly what we don't want to see. You know what kind of surprised me also? Max Scherzer's roster percentage is only 84%.
Yeah, I feel like
that's
what
insane to me, man. Like, what leagues do not have Max Scherzer rostered?
Yeah. Why were you not I guess that like leagues that have little to no IL spots. Like if you only have one IL, are you not like?
Yeah, but now that he's already made a start, like that's what his
Yeah.
roster percentage is today, and especially after that first start, I don't know. That's really weird to me. Unless it's like a 8-team league, with like only like 4 SP spots and very little bench. Like that's really the only reason why I think that.
Yeah, no, that's got to be it. It's got to be some which
some,
we're not
some weird
discriminating
stuff,
against your
right?
league. Yeah, it's got to be strange, but let me get in that league.
I know, right? Like add before someone else does it. All right, so that was Max Scherzer and Gerrit Cole. Let's move on to James Paxton. Now, let's see. All right, so is James Paxton a must-add? Currently 54% rostered. Paxton is currently carrying a 3.39 ERA. best we've seen from Paxton since 2017. He has a 7-1 record in 14 starts and has an average run support of 8 runs per game. That's crazy, man. Thank God he's on a great team now, right? He's allowed 6 earned runs against the Pirates on June 5th, but since then only has given up 2 runs total in his last 3 starts. So, Kevmo, is James Paxton a must-add in your opinion?
I'm going to give you a bit of a cop-out answer here. Kind of going back to what we said last time, what kind of league are you in? You know, if you are in a points league and it's somewhat deep, then yeah, I'd say he's a must-add. I think he's going to get you enough points. He's going to get you the wins, all that kind of stuff. I mean, I guess he's been doing fine for even a categories league, but especially if it's shallow, I don't know if he's a must-add. He seems like he might be kind of like a streaky pitcher. Like you get hitters that are kind of streaky as well, you know? So I think he might be like that. I would kind of say I ride the hot hand. If you are having to make a tough decision on who to drop because you have some high upside guys and, you know, not a lot of pitching, then maybe not. But, you know, I guess it just depends on the league. So if I have to give you a yes or no, I'm going to say no, not a must-add.
All right, Javi, is James Paxton a must-add in your opinion?
So I'm going the opposite, simply because there are a lot of injuries to a lot of good pitchers out there right now. I think Paxton is somebody that we didn't really expect to be pitching as well as he's been pitching. I mean, the 3.39 ERA is great. I think he has 36 walks, which is a lot. You know, he doesn't strike out a lot of guys, but in a depleted Dodger rotation and with an offense like the Dodgers, I think that he is actually a pretty good add for anybody that's kind of hurting on the pitching side of things as far as fantasy baseball goes. Because let's be honest here. When we didn't really see James Paxton putting this kind of work in, honestly, I think he was just like a veteran guy that they brought in. You know, in cases like this where you know the pitching in the Dodgers rotation they're gonna have injuries, man. And you see Bueller's out, Yamamoto's out, Kershaw got shut down. So what he's doing for the Dodgers, to me, is like a freaking plus because I don't think the Dodgers really expected him to do as much as he's been doing, you know. And then as far as fantasy, you know, fantasy wise, I don't think anybody said, "Oh, I'm gonna have Paxton on my squad for sure." You know, I'm sure he was a waiver pickup. So for what he's doing, I think he is a must add. You know, depending on what your pitching looks like on your fantasy team. But I think he is a must add for right now. He's pitching great, man. He looks good.
Yeah, I think you said it right there. He's a must add for right now, you know, but I think once we kind of see a little bit of trouble from Paxton, I think he's like, I wouldn't hesitate to hit that drop button, you know, because we've seen him be terrible the past few years, you know, ever since he went to the Yankees, I believe. You know, that's when like the downfall kind of like started, you know, and maybe it was the beard. Maybe the Yankees just, you know, they took away his like Samson power or something. But all right, so
I would say if it wasn't for team context, I wouldn't be. I feel like it wouldn't be as close for me. I think it would be a for sure no. If he wasn't a dog, because I mean, you can find enough people who are also hot right now and just doing like pitching is actually. I think it's more so that hitting isn't caught up to pitching. Still, surprisingly, like even like the Andrew Abbotts and stuff are like useful. And again, it's just if it wasn't that he was on the Dodgers, if he was on the Reds or something, I think we would be like definitely not.
Yeah, different story.
I think
or the Rockies or the Marlins or
sure.
any kind of struggling team.
Yeah, then I think we're just like, he's a streamer, but I think because he's on the Dodgers, it's like, yeah, let's pick him up right now while he's hot. Or while things are going good, but like we said, it might go sour pretty fast, but hopefully not. Hopefully not.
if I'm a James Paxton owner, which I am in I think 1 or 2 leagues, I'm not starting him against good lineups. I'm waiting for either mediocre lineups or just weak lineups to start him against. I would never start him against the Orioles, never start him against the really hot Astros right now. The Astros started off really slow, but they've been on a tear lately. I might start him against the Yankees because the Yankees in the last 10 are 2-8. They're on a slide right now. They're not hitting very good. Gleyber Torres has even stated I got some stuff that I need to work on. There's a lot of struggling hitters in that lineup. They lost Rizzo. They lost Stanton, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. So just looking at James Paxton's last 3 starts, they were versus the Rangers, at Colorado, and at the White Sox. And all 3 of those teams, the Rangers are struggling. They're not the offensive powerhouse that they were last season, but Colorado, weak lineup. Chicago White Sox, weak lineup. Even though he pitched at Colorado, you're still facing a weak lineup, and he does get a lot of ground balls. And with the Dodgers' elite defense, especially after the Dodgers ended up getting Kevin Biggio to man the hot corner, and much better defensively than Max Muncy. I'd rather have Muncy's bat. But the glove and the arm, makes it more worthwhile that they made that trade. So that being said, career low strikeouts, second highest career walk rate, expected ERA of 4.45. He's allowing a lot of hard contact, whether it's on the ground or in the air. He's scaring me a little bit with that. He's heavily increased his curveball usage from 19% in 2023 up to 27% in 2024. I'm absolutely certain that that's the Dodgers doing, trying to maximize his true potential. He cut back on the cutter usage from 16.5% in 2023 down to 4.2% in 2024. The results are there, but I'm not buying into Paxton. The Dodgers defense has played a huge factor in his overall production, but that good luck won't last forever. He's a high 3s ERA guy who I would only trust against weak lineups, 54% rostered. I think that's fine. Might be even a little bit too high. I can almost guarantee that his luck will run out at some point. I think that, James Paxton, let's just look at his home and away numbers right now. So in 9 starts away from Dodger Stadium, he has a 3.98 ERA and a 1.28 whip. At home, only has 5 starts. He has a 2.51 ERA with a 1.33 whip. So I think I'm trusting him a little bit more at home. It seems like he feels like a little comfortable in Dodger Stadium. The Dodger Stadium's not really like a pitcher's or a hitter's ballpark. It leans more towards pitchers, but it's more of like a neutral stadium. It's not like San Francisco that is very pitcher friendly, and it's not like Colorado that's very hitter friendly. It's like a good medium in the middle. So I feel like that's kind of been in his favor lately. I think the curveball usage has definitely increased his chances of pitching well. He's getting a lot of pop-ups, which is why the launch angle is so high, for batters faced. That's basically all I got for James Paxton. You guys want to add anything?
No, I think you ended up kind of, putting a bow on it. I think
hitting it.
Just ride the hot hand if he's available. But I'm not sure what the schedule is coming up. Just keep an eye out for those tough lineups.
Yeah, the Dodgers had a really tough schedule in the beginning of the season. And I think it's going to just get a little bit easier from now. Like they're facing the White Sox, and I think they have the day off today. And I'm not sure who they're facing this weekend. It's so hard to keep up with all this baseball plus doing podcast stuff like on a daily basis. I'm constantly on my laptop and on my phone just taking notes all the time, and I focus a lot more on individual players rather than teams. And stuff. I wish I had more time to focus on teams, especially like, the powerhouses in the league. But that's why I watch our other podcast on Sunday nights with Carlos and Ernie. So anyone watching, make sure you check out their live shows every Sunday. Sometimes they move it to Monday, depending on, vacation schedules or holidays or whatever it is. But yes, check out the Power Hour with Carlos and Ernie on this very same channel. Real quick, if you are still watching, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and scan that QR code in the top right corner. It'll take you to all of our social medias. And if you have any fantasy questions or questions in general about baseball, you can always hit us up on Instagram. Any one of our social medias. Instagram seems to be the easiest one to get a hold of us, or you can comment on this video, and I'm sure someone will be able to get back to you soon. All right, so moving on to Matt Waldron, who we've mentioned a few times on this podcast in the last few weeks, is up to 64% rostered in the last week. So it looks like most of you missed your chance on adding Waldron. If Waldron is available, I highly recommend picking him up. Season-long numbers, 3.43 ERA and 16 starts, 27 walks to 84 strikeouts in 89 innings pitched. So far in June, Waldron is sporting a masterful 1.95 ERA with a .80 whip in 5 starts. Those starts came against the Nationals, the Phillies, the Mets, the Diamondbacks, and the Angels. So big shout out to me for recognizing the skill set before he made these starts. Hopefully you guys listened and are reaping the benefits. His next 3 starts before the All-Star break should be against Boston, the Diamondbacks again, and the Braves. So Javi, you were a Waldron hater a couple weeks ago. So now are you starting to come around, or do you still kind of see Waldron as a streamer?
Well, being as the teams that you just mentioned, some of them are up there as far as offensive juggernauts. I'm starting to kind of I'm turning it around right now. The guy seems legit, dude. Seems legit. I think
It's the knuckleball,
the
bro.
next 3
It's
starts,
the knuckleball. He is the best knuckleballer in baseball right now.
dude. Depending on how these next 3 starts go, I think it'll be a more sure thing as far as I go. But the guy seems legit, man. That's another one of those guys where, you know, as a Padres fan or as a fantasy, manager looking for pitching, I mean, who was saying Matt Waldron is that dude? I need to pick him up right away. Like nobody was doing that at the beginning of the
Nobody.
season. So if you lucked out and you were able to pick him up on the waiver, man, kudos, man, because that's a great pickup. That's another rotation that's kind of hurting as far as the Padres go, and this is like an unexpected kind of help that the Padres need. Being in a tough, in a pretty tough division with the Dodgers being up there. Them trying to play catch up. But fantasy purposes, dude, diamond in the rough, man. You hit it right on the money, bro.
All right, Kevmo. We haven't heard what you have to say about Matt Waldron yet. Let's get it.
Yeah. So I just want to say this to start off. In our keeper league, I actually was in like the first 2-3 weeks of the season, I was streaming him, dropping him, I just kept picking him up and dropping him because no one else was picking him up. So I literally had him basically on my roster for the first month of the season, but just based off of dropping and streaming. But also I'm going to go into this. So knuckleball pitcher, right? It's 2 things: fun and good for good for baseball. 1 and 2. I mean, not that reliable because they don't even know where that ball is going.
There's so many times when catchers are just moving their glove to where they think the ball is going to be,
and it's going the
and
other
then
way,
they end up missing it. It turns into a pass ball or like a drop third strike, and then they can't find it or something.
Exactly. His chase percentages are very low fastball velocity. His hard hit rate is low, and that's obviously which is good, but it's probably because the knuckleball, you can't barrel up a knuckleball very easily, so that's good. In my opinion, if we're talking about sell high, buy low, I actually would try to sell high.
Yes.
I love him, but I would sell high. I love him because, again, it's fun. I love fantasy baseball because you want the fun players on the team. You want tune into the knuckleballer. He's on my team too, even better. But the last thing I'm gonna say is for knuckleball pitchers, Tim Wakefield, R.A. Dickey, and that's the list. So maybe Matt Waldron adds to the list, but
Maybe. You never know, man.
Yeah.
It's like, when's the last time we really saw a good knuckleball?
Exactly. It's already
Like 10 years ago?
Yeah.
It's been a long time. And these batters have probably never faced a knuckleball in their whole career, at least not a good one.
Especially younger guys.
And that's the thing, is that like it very much could be like this is the next guy on that list. This is the third guy on the list, basically. Like that, and that would be fantastic. Maybe we're talking about him for a couple seasons now, and he's in that conversation with the R.A. Dickies and the Tim Wakefields of the knuckleball pitchers. Or maybe right after the All-Star break, he turns into the rest of the knuckleball pitchers that we've seen that kind of have a flash in the pan, and then, you know, can you name me another one is basically what I'm like kind of implying. And
I can't.
Right, exactly. And so I'm not saying, I mean, Padres aside or whatever, I'm telling you, I tune in. I like to watch it. It's really fun. I'm actually hoping, because again, it's good for the sport, that he sticks around and he's continues to be good. But you know, the probability, the percentages, whatever, it's not necessarily in his favor. So I would sell high.
Yeah, that's the type of pitch that you kind of have to expect to have like some good starts and bad starts, you know, because there's a lot of pitchers that are like, oh, my slider's not working today, so I'm going to start throwing my changeup more often today, you know. And Matt Waldron actually does have a lot of pitches. Yeah, he throws the knuckleball up to almost 40% of the time, up from 26.7% last year. He has a four-seam fastball, a sweeper, a sinker, and a cutter. So a lot of hard stuff. He has the four-seamer, the sinker, the cutter, and then the only softer pitches is the sweeper and the knuckleball. So because he has a pretty decent arsenal, I think that could be in his favor a little bit, you know, maybe just mix in some knuckleballs, even when he's not on his game that day with the knuckleball, but at least he can kind of like throw off batters a little bit. Maybe they're expecting the knuckleball, and then all of a sudden you have this 91-mile-an-hour fastball that comes in and they weren't expecting it, and it's just a called strike three, you know, or a sweeper where they think it's going to be like a high fastball and ends up dropping out of the zone, and then it's a swing and miss, you know. That's what I feel makes a good knuckleballer, is the arsenal other than just the knuckleball. He does throw the four-seam fastball 22% of the time, the sweeper 19.5% of the time, and the sinker 14.4% of the time, with the cutter kind of mixed in around 5%. So because all of his pitches are at least 14% or higher, I think I'm willing to take a chance on Waldron, you know, and if I can get something great in return from him, you know, selling high, I would totally do that, you know.
That's
but
what it is.
If I can't, if I get something that I don't think is worth it in return, you know, someone that I'm not really going to hold on to for the rest of the season, then I think I would just pass and just hope for the best from Waldron, at least for this year, you know, because maybe next year batters will kind of like figure it out, you know, and they'll kind of like catch up to him. But he is 27 years old. He's been a career minor leaguer up until last season. You know, he barely made his debut at 26 years old. So
that's what I was gonna say. Like he can still work out some stuff, you know, as far as, you know, maybe I just don't want them to know me as a knuckleball pitcher. You know, maybe I got to work. You know, 2 seasons is not really a big sample size. You know, so I mean, maybe, you know, down the road he might be a different pitcher.
Yeah, and I wonder where he's finding like this, like newfound progression of the knuckleball. Like, who's he learning this from? You know, because most pitchers, you know, probably know how to throw a knuckleball, but not very good. So who is he learning how to get better at this from? You know, that's what I'm wondering, because in my personal view, the Padres have never been good at developing their pitching, you know. So I'm wondering if he kind of just has like his own trainer with the knuckleball.
Something, you know,
I don't know,
own trainer or something. Yeah, who knows? I think going back to what you said, you know, my last 2 cents on it is exactly what you said, though, is if you're gonna sell high, don't just sell high because he's been performing really well. Don't just sell because you're a little nervous of it or whatever. Like, sell high, And then if you can't get anything high, just ride the hot hand. I mean, I feel like that's been my theme of this episode is ride the hot hand, and he's been hot right now, and just ride it into the sunset if you can. But if someone's willing to offer you
the wheels fall off.
Yeah, exactly.
If I'm a Waldron owner and I'm also like a Mookie Betts owner, I'm trying to replace shortstop or second base or whatever position I had. So I'd be going out there looking for starting shortstops or second basemen that I can trade Waldron for, you know. And if I can't get, I'm not saying get a top 5 shortstop, because you're not going to be able to get that, you know. But if you can get like CJ Abrams or something like that has some decent upside, that might be a little struggling right now, that you could buy low on and sell high on, you know, that's what I would be looking for.
100%.
All right, so let's see. Javi, with Matt Waldron, he's coming up against the Red Sox, the Diamondbacks, and the Braves. If you own Waldron, are you starting him against those 3 teams?
Where they are? What are they road? What are the road and home games?
Yeah,
I'm not sure. That would actually be a fair question, because the Padres Stadium is one of the best best ballparks for pitchers when it comes to home runs. So
you said Red Sox, Braves, and who?
Diamondbacks, and Braves. I'm going to go to the Padres page right now to find out. All right, so they are
Boston,
at Boston, at Texas, and versus Arizona. So they're at home against Arizona, but the Braves and the Red Sox. Oops, sorry, I said Texas, but he's not starting against them. So it's at Boston versus Arizona and versus Atlanta. So the only home game is against the Red Sox.
No, other way around.
Other way around.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
The home games are Arizona and Atlanta.
I'm gonna start them all 3. Because why not?
Why not?
You know, the way he's pitching, you know, you don't. I mean, what do you have to lose? You know, the Padres don't really have anybody that stands out as far as pitching right now. And pitching has been kind of iffy this year, you know, with all the injuries and stuff like that. So, I mean, I like Kev says, like, ride the hot hand. Why not? You know?
I know the Diamondbacks can be good, you know, but I think the Red Sox, I know the Diamondbacks have their days where it's like, oh, hey,
dude, it's like night and day. It's night and day.
Right.
Yeah, they'll score like 13 runs one day, and then the next day they'll have 1.
Right. And so it's like, I mean, you just never know. But I mean, I think it varies on your on your league, which again is a cop-out answer. But in a points league, you're for sure starting them. I think all 3. I mean, it is what it is. If you're in one of those leagues where you have a limited amount of starts or whatever, then maybe against the Braves, you kind of, maybe you don't start them because they're starting to get hot again. But I think the other 2, the Red Sox have about 2 guys that are like a little bit scary. Other than that, no one. And then the Diamondbacks, depends on the day kind of thing. So, it is what it is. I think I would start him. I'm not too. He's playing well right now. If you're worried about your ratios and stuff, then sell him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Giancarlo Stanton hits the IL for the 11th time since joining the Yankees. That's crazy. 11 times, dude. And he's been on the Yankees for what, like 7 years now, something like that. So you're guaranteed to at least have 1 IL stint from Stanton every single year. So if you had Stanton on your team or have Stanton on your team, you've been reaping the benefits of a huge power hitter this season, batting .246 with 18 home runs in 69 games. Unfortunately, you're not going to find anything that comes close to that on the waiver wire, but we're going to try to find some decent replacement options for you. Now, Javi, there are a few outfielders that are on the most added list. So if you just lost Giancarlo Stanton or you're just looking for an upgrade, which of these outfielders are you looking to add? I'll start with the highest roster percentage and going down. So first we have Jesse Winker at 53%. Currently batting .261 with 9 home runs this season. So far in June, Winker's batting 329 with 3 home runs, 2 stolen bases, and 14 walks to 18 strikeouts. Next, we have Ryan O'Hearn at 45%, currently batting 284 with 10 home runs and 3 stolen bases, a 10.2 K percentage with an 810 OPS. Jared Kelenic, 44% rostered, currently batting 282 with 8 home runs and 3 stolen bases. Now, that does come with a 29.5% K rate and a 5.4% base on balls rate, but he has been tearing the cover off the ball in June, batting 321 with 5 home runs, 3 stolen bases, and a 921 OPS. Next, we have Isaiah Kiner-Falefa at 29% rostered, currently batting 281 with 6 home runs and 3 stolen bases with a 724 OPS. So far in June, Kiner-Falefa is batting 309 with 2 home runs and a 732 OPS. And finally, we have Harrison Bader, only 5% rostered, currently batting 275 with 6 home runs and 11 stolen bases. So far in June, Bader is batting 283 with 4 home runs, 3 stolen bases, and a 903 OPS. So, Javi, who's your favorite of this group, and how would you rank the rest of them? If you want, I can give you the
So
name again.
okay, so right off the bat, right? I want to say a couple episodes ago, I was riding the Winker wagon.
Like that.
He was hot. He was hot, man. And it's funny, right after that episode, I feel like he kind of dipped a little bit,
A
right?
little bit.
And then yeah, and then come, month of June and he's turned it up again. Um, I like Winker, but I'm gonna give you who I think is gonna be the the guy that I'm choosing is Kelnick. The reason why, so we all know Acuna out for the season, right? Kelnick, 27 years old, right? He was with the Mariners, I believe, the past 4 seasons. Um, never really played a full season. Never really had any kind of like, people were expecting a breakout. He's a top 10 pick, right? In 2018, he was number 6 overall. So obviously there was something about this guy that, people were looking at. Unfortunately, injuries, demotions, he was brought up, sent back down to the minors a couple of times while he was with the Mariners. I think right now that he is getting almost pretty much everyday play. You're kind of starting to see him break out a little bit more. I feel like he's trying to take advantage of the situation that he's in. Um, he's what is this? 6 home runs, 18 RBIs, 6 walks, 28 strikeouts, which, like you said, is a lot. But in hindsight, I feel like because he hasn't really had a full season, maybe these are things that he can kind of work through. I mean, he's still young, but the fact that he's taken advantage of the situation is very good for him.
Definitely.
Um, very good for his confidence,
Confidence.
and stuff like that, right? So I like Kelnick, and then I would go Winker, just because Winker, he's hot. He's been hot, and I guess he's kind of one of those guys too, where he gets hot and then he kind of takes a fall a little bit, then he comes right back. But I mean, if you're trying to replace somebody like Stanton, Winker is not a bad option. And then you said um, O'Hearn, Bader, and what was the other guy?
Isaiah
Is that how you
Kiner-Falefa.
say it?
IKF.
Okay, so I would probably go O'Hearn simply because he plays on a stacked Baltimore Orioles team. Didn't really do my research on O'Hearn, but they have a great lineup. Um, and then I would probably go Falefa because he's kind of a vet. I kind of know more or less what I'm going to get from Falefa, and then Bader. I guess he's coming back from injury, so the sample size isn't really there for me. So I'm waiting on him, but we kind of know what Bader can bring to the table when he's healthy. So that would be how I would rank each one of them.
All right, Kevin, same question. Who's your favorite of this bunch, and then rate the rest?
Okay, so let's see. Just real quick, I wanted to check on this. Giancarlo Stanton expected to be out for about 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So with that being said, obviously, you can see a little bit different stuff. When was that? June 23rd. So a couple days ago. All right.
You
so
also have the All-Star break in between.
Correct. So
No.
he's out 4 weeks. You're only missing him for 1 week, or for 3 weeks basically. You're gonna get a 1 weekish type of, grace period, which is nice. I think I would go. I like the Kelenic one, but here's my thing. I'm not exactly sure when Harris is gonna come back. When Harris comes back, Kelenic is not in the leadoff spot. Harris is gonna go in the leadoff spot, so that might kind of mess with him a little bit. So who knows? Also, I'm thinking Winker. He may not be on the Nationals come after the trade deadline, which, right now he's hitting at the top of the Nationals lineup. But if he goes somewhere else and he's, maybe he actually goes to the Braves, and then, he's, who knows, where he's hitting. So there's that. I'm just touching on all of them a little bit here. I actually have O'Hearn on a couple of them. O'Hearn is gonna, kind of sit against lefties a little bit, but he also comes in and pinch hits like almost every game that he sits. I've noticed that, and the guy likes to pop home runs off the bench, so that's also kind of fun. Connor Falefa, I feel like, is a hot Bo Bichette away, or a hot Davis Schneider away from not even playing that much, so I'm a little iffy on him. And then Bader, I actually kind of like the way that Bader's kind of going right now. So I think the way that you have it listed is almost exactly how I would rank it, except maybe I'm a little biased because I am currently on the Winker wagon in 2 leagues. I will switch Winker and Kelenic just to be a little different. But for the most part, I think I mostly agree with you, Javi. And again, my theme for the episode has been ride the hot hand. And Kelenic has also been pretty hot, but I think Winker right now, I'd go with that. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's on a different team at the trade deadline, and maybe it's better, better situation. So
yeah, I like what both of you guys are saying. I think with any of these guys for the short term, I think you're not going to go wrong with any one of these guys. But in a categories league, I think I'm heading towards Harrison Bader just a little bit more than any of these other guys because of those stolen bases. None of these guys are stealing bases the way that Harrison Bader is. He has 11 already, versus Kiner Falefa that has 3, and Kelenic that has 3, and O'Hearn that has 3, and Winker that has 2.
Winker has 12.
Oh, I'm sorry. He has 2 in June.
Yeah.
So, between Winker and Bader for the short term, I think I'm going either one of those guys, especially in a categories league, because Winker just strikes out a little bit too much for me in a points league. But I think that O'Hearn has actually a lot more upside than any one of these guys because of the age and the lineup context and the pedigree. So I'm actually going O'Hearn first if it's a points league, and I'm thinking more like rest of season. In rest of season, I think I'd rather have O'Hearn. In the short term, I think you're really not going to go wrong with any one of these guys, especially Kiner Falefa that's eligible at like first, second, short, third, everywhere, dude.
And that's why I brought up the 4-week thing at the very beginning, because if it was like a long term, like if it was, we're replacing Acuna type of thing, then I kind of, you might be looking at it differently. Also, what you got on your roster. If you have another guy coming off the IL soon, then you're going to drop someone. Then maybe look at the matchups of what's coming up pretty soon. And again, like I've looked at for a while there, I was like, oh, maybe I'll drop O'Hearn when I first picked him up. And then I saw that they had like 3 7-game weeks out of the 4 that were coming up, and I was like, well, that's good because he's going to be playing a lot, even on the days that he's sitting. And then just each week I'm looking at it and I'm like, there's a lot of righties, so he's going to be in the lineups a lot. So I mean,
Yeah,
those
and the
you gotta
league is 80% righties, so
right.
he's gonna see a lot of playing time.
Honestly, and we're gonna maybe touch on this later too, but the Orioles, their players, if you're not like the Rutschman, Gunnar, and I guess Westberg right now, everyone else is like a little bit, or I guess Santander, but like depending on the matchup, like it's just too many players going on. So that's what makes it a little tough with O'Hearn, because if he was an everyday player, I think he would be ranked way higher than what he is, but he just sits more often than he sits against some righties sometimes too, because they're trying to fit in Cowser and whoever else. So
the good thing about O'Hearn, though, is that they play him a lot at first base also. With Heston Kjerstad coming up and Colton Cowser, and the dude, they have so many outfielders. You never know who's going to start on a daily basis, so it's hard to roster outfielders for the Orioles unless it's the guy that we're actually going to talk about next, and I will bring that up now. Let's see, where's he at? All right, so Cedric Mullins. If you had Cedric Mullins on your team, hopefully you didn't overreact and dropped him too early, because he's been on a pretty decent hot streak lately. On the season, Mullins is batting .204 with a .600 OPS with 7 home runs in 71 games. But in the last 2 weeks, I'm so glad I didn't drop this guy. He's just been riding my bench. Mullins is batting .357 with a .909 OPS, 10 runs scored, 1 home run, and 3 stolen bases. So, Kev, if you are a Cedric Mullins owner, are you selling to someone who's possibly buying into this hot streak, or are you holding and kind of hoping for the best of the rest of the season?
If someone's buying, I'm listening, because Mullins is a streaky guy, and exactly what we were just saying. There's a logjam out there. He's been hot, and he's still sitting against, either throwing, pitcher, righty, lefty, doesn't matter. He still sits sometimes, and I think that, if I'm being honest, I think the Orioles like Mullins, but they want the other guys to work out more, and that's why they're letting the other guys play while he's still really hot. I'll tell you also another thing. If he continues to be hot and one of these other guys pick it up a little bit, someone's gone. And it's probably Mullins, because, again, they got a lot invested in these younger guys. So if someone is buying on Mullins right now, and it's not like dirt cheap, obviously, we're not just, accepting any trade offer. But if it's a decent offer, especially like, let's say you have extra hitters and you're in need of some pitching and someone's offering you something, then yeah, I think I would take it, because I wouldn't be just as quickly as he sprouted back up and has gotten hot, is just as quick as he will probably drop back down low. And if you look at his Baseball Savant page, I'm not going to
take a
bore you with
dive.
all the percentages. I won't bore you with all the percentages, but his Savant page is as blue as my hat, baby. It's pretty blue. So, but again, I'll go back to my theme.
That's funny.
Ride the hot hand. He's hot right now.
You just gotta
hope the Orioles do the same thing and just let him play. I mean, believe me, I've got Cowser on one of my teams. He's been bad. If I were the Orioles, I'd probably send him down and let Mullins play all the time right now, and then maybe trade Mullins.
Yeah, I would definitely. If I'm the Orioles, he still has a couple more years of control on his rookie contract. He's still going through arbitration, so he won't hit free agency until 2026. But with all these Orioles outfielders that are coming up, it's kind of like, why even keep Mullins on the team when you have such a stacked outfield?
Right. I think the only other thing would be to sell one of the younger guys for like a high-end pitcher because of the prospect pedigree, and then keep Mullins, which I'd be okay with for the Orioles.
Yeah, I mean, Mullins is still good defensively, so he's at least going to save some runs, even if he's not creating runs. But we know the type of hitter that Mullins is, and it took him a little while, just like you said earlier, Kevin, that the league in general, just a lot of hitters just haven't, been having that production that you thought they were going to have by this point in the season. So Cedric Mullins, he's finally starting to heat up. I'm hoping that he stays that way because, like I said, I do have him in one of my leagues, but I feel like he knows in his head that he has the possibility, the potential of losing his job or at least becoming like a platoon player, because of all those other outfielders coming up. And you still have Jackson Holiday in the minor leagues that just got back from the minor league IL that could be getting a call up again soon,
And
which
Mayo
would possibly move O'Hearn permanently to the outfield because you have to move someone else, around. And Jackson Holiday being the number 1 overall pick last season or the season before or something like that, and knowing that he's the top prospect that he is, he's gonna be, the starting shortstop of the Baltimore Orioles. They're gonna move Gunnar Henderson over to third base. Probably, there's going to be a lot of moving in the Baltimore Orioles lineup, and I feel like they're going to have to figure out who they're going to move permanently to be able to make room for every one of these really good young baseball players, and
Absolutely.
I think Mullins is the one that's probably has the highest probability of getting traded.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's probably the case. I mean, again, they have a lot invested in Kjerstad too. He was a high draft pick, and they have a guy, Kobe Mayo, who's supposed to be pretty solid too. I mean, we've just named like 4 or 5
Too many
infielders
guys, bro.
So someone's got to go, and someone, So yeah, we'll see. I think Mullins is probably the odd man out, and
then you also have Mountcastle, who's mostly the DH almost every single day, and he could potentially take over first base and then move O'Hearn to the outfield permanently. There's so many different options that they have. It's a good problem to have for Baltimore.
Exactly. But it's a bad problem to have if you have these outfielders on your team, because any given day you don't know when they're playing, when they're not. So it's tough. I honestly, I'm a fan of Mullins. I like watching him play, and when he's hot, it's like he's great. So yeah, like I said, ride the hot hand. If someone's trying to buy, listen.
Yeah, I agree. All right, guys, we've reached the end of the show. This is actually the first time that we've gotten done with the show before that hour mark, and it's a little bit weird for me seeing 56 minutes and 50 seconds on the board. We barely made it, 3 minutes shy, of an hour. But hey, I keep on telling myself, like, all right, this week we're shaving it down. We're gonna be at an hour at the end, and then finally we did it. So congratulations to us.
There you go. Once you start talking baseball, man, it's just hard to stop.
It's hard to stop, man. It's hard to stop.
Yeah, for real.
That's actually why, in this episode, I was trying to ask you guys specific questions and get specific answers rather than like, all right, take it, right, open-ended. So I feel like that actually went very well and it flowed. All right. So, for everyone that's still watching or listening, please hit that like and subscribe button. Thank you for joining the show. I am Will Power, and for Javi and Kevmo, we appreciate you guys, and we'll see you guys next week. Thanks.
Bye-bye.